3. I'll just confirm in a second. Cool. So we are live on the Where to Hunt podcast. Just wrapped up our Rut Radio from 6 to 6:30. We got a couple callers that called in for the heated hunt giveaway. While we're filling up quick here, this is great. So hey everybody, welcome to the show. We've changed up the view, the table, the camera. We got Greg. We got my buckhead over there. Greg's over here. We got booze littered across this table. Don't worry, we're not there yet.
You're professional.
Yeah, we got to be professional in everything. So before we get started and introduce our guest, we're going to do our call out. So if you look to the screen, if you're watching, which hopefully you are, Backwoods Grind is our title sponsor. If you go to backwoodsgrind.com, you can take a look at their coffee. You'll notice that when you get to their site, there are, all of these great coffees you can look at, but there's also some really fun notes of, fruity coffee flavors and almonds and nuts. And again, I joke, but it's serious. You go to their website and it smells like coffee. So it's a very confusing thing if you are on a computer, but it's great. So I recommend going to their site and taking a good whiff and see if you can smell their coffee. It's great. If you don't believe me, just go do it yourself and you'll see. If you want to save some money on their coffee, you can go ahead and enter discount code W2H podcast. You'll get 10% off. I recommend trying the sampler pack. And then next, our other sponsor that supports the show is Gumleaf USA. So gumleafusa.com. Greg and I both have pairs of their boots. We've been using them for a while. And if you look at the screen, you're going to see that these are handmade boots in Europe. And then they have one distributor here in the United States. That's gumleafusa.com. And if you want to save some money on shipping, because it's a bigger ticket item, you can enter in code W2H 2019 and save some money there. I told a story last week without my voice about my dad getting his boots stuck on his feet, which was very real. He couldn't get them off his feet. And sorry, Dad, to call you out like this. I know you listen, but it was real. And I had to help you pull your boots off your feet like you were, coming home drunk from the bar, but you weren't. It was just on the tailgate of your truck coming out of the woods. So as you notice, they have a pair called the Royal Zips, and they'll zip off, so you don't have to putz around with all that stuff.
I'm gonna have to get my old man a pair of those this year.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good Christmas gift
for sure,
worth the spend. So in any event, let's get into the topic of the show. I'm gonna switch our screen here back to the live podcast. Our guest today is Jeff Wittkopp. I said your name correctly, with Lowe Creek Outdoors, and you're actually an Oconomowoc native. We met at your rummage sale last summer, and so I'm happy to bring you onto the show, Jeff.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. And if I had a better setup, I'd bring you here, and you could cash some beers with us.
That's right.
Why don't you take a second and tell the audience who you are, what you're about, what Lowe Creek is, and you kind of take the wheel from here for a minute.
Absolutely. Well, I have a business called Lowe Creek Outdoors. It's a family company. I've got a 16-year-old son and a 12-year-old son, as well as my wife. We're all avid outdoorsmen and enjoy the outdoors in many facets, but most is the hunting part of it. And we formed the company about a year and a half ago, and really it was just to share our stories with others out there through social media and YouTube and whatnot. And along the way, we picked up some great partners. We're not sponsored by any means, but we just use and promote the products that we've used for the last 30 years in my case. Been hunting for a long time, and this will be my 30th bow season here in Wisconsin. And it kind of come full circle where I started at the age of 12, and now my sons are around that age and enjoying it just as I did so many years ago. So it's been a nice endeavor to kind of get involved more in depth with the industry, and it just met a ton of great people like yourself, and it's been a fun ride so far.
That's cool to hear. So now I have a son, right? He's a whopping 2 weeks old. and I can't wait for the days when I can bring him into the field and he can help me.
And it just met a ton of great people like yourself, and it's been absolutely it's surreal watching how their enthusiasm. They just gravitate towards things that mom and dad are doing, and with today's age, there's so many different toys and toys for almost every avenue. My kids had all the different hunting toys you can get, the little mini figurines of Micah Wydell and the Duck Commander guys.
Nice.
So from the ages of 1 and up, they've been dreaming hunts. They've filmed their own hunting shows using toys and their iPods at the time. It's been a blast. So you're in for a treat.
That's a different world. That's a whole topic in and of itself. I mean, thinking about us doing podcasts and self-filming, like the kids coming into it, they're going to change the industry in a major way in the coming years. You know, I think what they can do with things is going to be far greater than our ability. You know, we're a bunch of old dudes. And I don't feel old, you know, like I'm a young 33 and these kids are going to run circles around me.
Yeah, they'll be able to pick up a camcorder and know exactly what every button does and how to set the filters right and everything without even probably lifting a hand to look at a manual.
Exactly.
Took me a while to figure out how to use this GoPro and all this. And it'll be the iPhone 30 at that point, and it'll be like, it's a drone, right? And it probably grows some wings, and you hit a button, and it flies out and films for you or something like that, you know?
Absolutely. No, it's been crazy. I'm sure I've got some VHS tapes somewhere of my first harvests or tracks, but I don't have anything to play it with anymore, so I don't know if that does me any good. But
interesting to think
yeah,
about.
it's fun. It's fun watching these kids and just being able to share their hunts and experiences, you know, live from the tree if you want.
Yep.
That's just crazy. Who'd ever thought that?
It is an interesting world. I remember when that stuff started coming out, I thought this is going to be the world that we live in. And there's going to be a lot of first movers, but now it's been commoditized. And cell coverage is, you know, there's still a lot of remote places, but there's a lot of not remote places where you can just fire that stuff up.
Right.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. If there's a little bit more you want to unpack there, please.
No, I was just going to mention that, initially when I first started hunting, it was all public land. We didn't have any land in the family or any permission from friends to access private. So my early years were spent in the Jackson County, Wisconsin forest, county and state land, pursuing whitetail. And it wasn't until I met my wife, and we got married in '99, and she has private land in her family. So since then, I've been concentrating mostly on private land.
So you had your eyes set on her a long time before you got married, then?
Yeah. We met in college at Fox Valley Tech. We were both studying to be in the game warden program there.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, I chose a different career path early, but she finished out the program there and graduated. So that's where we had met. So kind of interesting, and it just so worked out that she was from the area that I had grown up hunting, within 20 minutes of where I'd been coming up my whole life. So
it's
it was
interesting.
One small world.
It is interesting that you said Jackson County. That's where my dad and my uncle cut their teeth chasing whitetails in the 60s and 70s. I don't know how many stories I heard of, seeing 30, 40 does on opening morning and really looking hard to find a buck to shoot. And bucks weren't very prevalent, and they weren't big either. If you had a spiker or a forkhorn, that was a good deer.
Right.
How many times did you play the song "I'm Going to Jackson" on your way there?
Too many to count.
I'm going to Jackson. I'd be so happy to hear that song if that's where I was deer hunting.
Yeah. No, it's a good part of the state. A lot of public land to hunt up there. A lot of acreage. But it's tough hunting, and to your point, the big deer are hard to come by at times. But if you work hard enough and go in deep enough, you can find some pretty good deer there.
Yep.
That's cool. So you got married in '99, and then, did you wait to get access to the private land to be like, this is not why I married you? Or did you get after it right away?
I had to make sure she let me on before I got married. So
the good thinking. All right, you're smarter than I am.
No, it just so happens that she is passionate about the outdoors as well, and we started doing our hunting together on public, and then eventually moved our stands to her land, because I had grown up in public. That's what I knew. I knew what the deer were doing. I knew where to go. And eventually we just said, well, let's just start hunting your family land, and that's what we did. And that's been an interesting transition. But they got their pros and cons. The biggest con is that you don't have thousands of acres to go run around on. We're in a landlocked 40, so you don't have the acreage to play with. So when the wind's not right, you just hunt, because you're on 40 acres. It doesn't matter if you're on the north side, what side you're on. If the wind's not right, you still hunt. And that was probably the biggest change I had to learn to adapt to, is how are we going to manage our scent and our approach to get on this property that's landlocked and not blow every deer out of the bedding area in the process.
Sure.
So that was a big learning curve, but we've conquered that, I think, and we've taken some really good deer over the years, and we see a lot of deer for the most part during each hunt. So it's been a lot of fun. Some of the things that I've learned is my scent control process had to change. So now it's scent control in the shower, using the proper soap, shampoos, even going as far as what toothpaste you're using, the deodorants. And I think it was 2007 I started using Scent Lock clothing, and that's been a big factor in our hunt. And now all my family wears it, my wife, my kids, making sure that everybody's taking their showers, using an unscented towel to dry off, keeping your clothes in airtight bags, using ozone as needed. And it's really made a big difference, I feel, in the amount of deer we see. And even though they're downwind, they're still not winding us. Every once in a while you get one, but for the most part, it's a night and day difference.
That's interesting. I use a lot of those soaps when I was younger, and even still to this day. But to me, it's almost nostalgic, because I don't use those soaps until hunting season, right? And I'm not trying to spray on the deodorant that I use, I say spray. I use a spray deodorant. It's a pretty strong, fragrant smell.
Are you an Axe man?
No, I'm a Dove man. I do like the Dove for men, and I spray it. I like the stuff that doesn't leave the stains. But I'm just saying, you have to think twice before you're going to spray yourself down with that, especially in bow season, right? Do you use that stuff?
Yeah.
The soaps? Or are you just a wind guy?
I'm a wind guy. I've got public land on my side where I can pick and choose places to go and hunt. So I play the wind a lot more. But I used to because I had small pieces.
Yep.
And I used to try and get fanatical about it, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And when, those pieces either sold or I decided not to pursue hunting on them anymore, public land was there, and I just...
Less of a concern.
Yeah, less of a concern.
I never would have thought, it's so funny, as public land hunters, there's some sort of viewpoint of, if only I had private land, and because then you can have it to yourself. The big challenge with public is the other hunters, I think, among other things, but...
Other hunters, other hikers.
I wouldn't have thought of having a small tract of land, scent control being one of the more important things to consider. Now, I'll take all the advantages I can get. There's a reason I call myself the okayest hunter, because, if there's something that I can mess up, believe me, I'll mess it up. You guys have all watched this podcast, so you know. But I got my hands on a scent crusher bag, and I think the scent control piece is good. I leverage it and get some other advantages out of it, where I'm not having to wash my clothes all the time, which is a blocker for me because I'm a guy and I hate laundry. So the less I have to wash clothes, the more I'm going to get out. And so I just crush my clothes in that bag, and I'm good. I'll just be good to go. I'll wear the same clothes all season by just doing that. And it does a better job than my washing machine, I think.
Man,
it does. It's amazing. Last year was the first year we started using ozone. and I was amazed at what it does. Not only for hunting, but just around the home in general. It takes out the odor. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So, okay. So what else? So you've been hunting that private property for about 20 years, right? If my math is correct, it's 1999. You get started some access to that maybe a little bit before, and it's 2019 now, right? 20 years of that. Right. Do you still hunt public too, or are you pretty married to that plot?
We are pretty married to that plot. The public land, there's not a whole lot nearby where our private is as far as public goes. So the opportunities to get to a piece fairly easy aren't really there. And we kind of look at it like, hey, we've got our opportunity on this piece. Why are we going to go in here and mess up this guy's hunt? So it's more of respecting than anything to kind of stay out of there. In addition to the 40 acres that we have, her grandmother has a 400-acre farm about 25 miles from there.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of our secondary place to hang out. And that's more it's agricultural but wooded as well. And that's kind of where we do a lot of our gun hunting and whatnot.
And it's probably more the family
kind
piece where you probably have brothers and cousins and things like that there, and everybody spreads out more.
Right. Exactly. So we don't do a whole lot of public anymore, and it's just because we just choose not to. We know of some great spots that are great for deer hunting, but we just stick to our own land and leave the rest for others.
Now, are you doing food plots on that property too?
We have in the past, and it's more of their access trails, their old logging roads that we've kept maintained, and we've had some great years where the yield is outstanding, and the deer hit them hard. But we've had other years where you put all the work in, and it's too wet, and you get nothing. And we just decided to not waste the time and money per se, because it is fairly shaded in that property, and we don't do it anymore. We basically concentrate on the acorn mast, and follow that as much as we can with our stand sets, and that seems to be doing okay. It'd be nice to do more food plots.
They're a labor of love, that's for sure.
They're a lot of work.
They are,
They're a lot of freaking work.
You gotta really like
it. It is. And we spent a lot of time with getting the lime and the pH up to where it needs to be. And the minute we hit that 7.0 mark, the grass kicked in, super heavy, and we're 2 hours and 45 minutes away, so you can't maintain it on a weekly basis.
No.
So you get up there, and 3 weeks later, and you got a hay field, and your clover's all drowned out and whatnot. So it was kind of tough, and we were throwing a lot of money in it. And we decided, let's just hunt the natural food here and make that work, and that's what we've done. But it's been a nice change, to be on a private. Like I said, it's a small tract, so it kind of feels like you're on public still, because you got a lot of neighbors, a lot of guys hunting close by. So there's still that respect level you have to have with everybody, and kind of communication is a big key, whether you're on public or private. Making friends with the local hunters and letting everybody know, hey, it's okay if you wound a deer and it comes over here, even during season, you have full right to track that, and then you ask for that same permission back. And 9 times out of 10, you'll get that.
That's good that you're able to do that. I was going to ask that question. How's your relationship with your neighbors around the area? If you guys are all cool with letting each other track a wounded deer, or using the property to access a point or something.
Yeah, and that doesn't come without some hard work, and
for sure,
maybe some favors, right, and some chores.
Yeah, you got to help somebody out sometime. Nothing comes free.
But for the most part, everybody cares about the animals, and I've only been told no once, and that was from a landowner a few 40s over when we were tracking a deer once, that we were not allowed to enter. But that's the only time. Everybody else has been great.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And so. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I could just keep interrupting. I'm really good at it. My wife always says, "I'm sorry, did the middle of my sentence interrupt the beginning of yours?" So.
Sure.
I'll let you go on.
Well, you mentioned access, and being that we're landlocked, we had to have a good relationship with the neighbors to access our piece. And we've always had the one neighbor, he's been outstanding. He wouldn't even care if we drove our truck back there to hunt every day, but we had to go up a 40 through his 40 to get to our 40. And we decided from day one, we're not going to do that, so we're going to walk. And if you want anything to kill your scent-free strategy, try walking in hunting clothes and size 13 boots for 40 minutes. It was killing me, and you get to the base of the tree and you're soaking wet with sweat, you know, and you're just like, I just did all this scent preparation for nothing.
Sure.
And it was really becoming problemsome. And the only other option was to drive, and I said, we cannot drive across this land. He's bow hunting. We're not going to screw up his hunt. So I did that for, well, I guess I did it for 19 years, and I'm 42 now. And it got to the point where that walk got to be so long, it was like, geez, somewhere to be like, I'm just going to stay in bed. And I decided there's got to be a better way for this. And last year we incorporated the use of electric bikes to access our property. And that has been a major game changer, specifically for the fact that you don't sweat. You can get close to your stand, you dump the bike over in the grass or briars, you know, your vehicle disappears, and then you walk, you know, the 150 yards to your tree. And that has been a major change for us, and we saw immediate improvements with the amount of deer we saw last year. So that was kind of a cool experience to witness, and you know, to come up with a plan, put it together, and then have it work. That was pretty neat.
And which bikes are you guys using?
We use Quiet Cat. I met those guys. I think it was early 18. They're out of Eagle, Colorado, and they've been great for us. They're big mountain bikers and bikers themselves, so they do things that mountain bikes I would never dream of doing out in the mountains out there. They're hard on their equipment, so the deciding factor to go with their brand is that, you know, the components they choose and the frame quality, you know, all the weld contacts and whatnot. It's just these things are built like a tank, and so that's why we chose them. And we actually have 3 of them now, so that we can access our property from different areas, and you don't have to go in at the same point and then walk through the whole land. You can have, you know, 2 guys enter on the north side and another guy come up on the south. So what once took 35 minutes, 30 or 40, now it takes 5.
Wow.
And you get in there in the dark. They make a red light you put on the handlebars so you can sneak in you know, pure black in the morning. And they don't make a whole lot of noise. Just still have leaf noise, obviously, but don't have that scent trail of a human walking through. And they don't know what you are. They haven't put 2 and 2 together yet. We've rode past deer that have been standing there.
They're like, wait, I mean, they're pretty curious animals. They're probably like, wait a second, what's happening?
Yeah, they stare at you like, what is that? Was that a circus bear on a bike? You know?
Could have been.
So that's been a huge game changer for us. Not only that, but I used to feel trapped because I'd be like, get out there and the deer aren't moving, and I'm like, I don't want to walk 40 minutes out, get to the truck, go back in for an hour, walk 40 minutes back in, because you have to shower every time. You can't get sweaty and then not shower. At least that was our rule. And we just decided that, you know, we're going to invest in these bikes, and it's been the best decision that I've made on hunting equipment in a long time.
There's a lot of questions that are going to follow this thought. I'll let you fire off first.
Yeah.
Well, you said that you look like a circus bear riding a pedal bike through the woods. They look like they're heavy enough to carry a circus bear with how big the tires are.
They can.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they're well built, pretty heavy duty aluminum frame. I'm assuming.
Yeah, they have a 300-pound capacity.
Jeez.
We've had way more on them. You know, with people, gear.
Sure.
They have trailers that you can attach to it. Haul your game out or bring your tree stands and cushions in. So it's not only practical and effective, but it's just fun.
I was gonna say
kinda,
that's it. I'm so glad you said that. That's where I was gonna jump in.
They're fun, but
Yeah.
how much fun can you have on one? What's the time frame on something like that? I mean, obviously it's going to vary on the grade of the terrain and if you're mudding it or what,
Right.
how fast you're going, that kind of thing.
Yeah. If you're in normal temperatures, obviously, winter time with any lithium battery, your battery time is less. But they claim it's 20 miles unassisted, so without any pedaling, you can go 20 miles, and I'm sure that's calculated in gear mode number 1 on flat terrain.
Sure.
But we'll get a whole weekend out of it, and
Oh, wow.
still have half a charge left.
I bet you if you're hauling a deer out of there, that's gonna. So I have an electric lawnmower now, which is fun. I have the Ryobi thing. So
Okay.
It's battery powered, right? I don't know if that's similar tech to what the bikes are doing, the Quiet Cats. But it takes me 3 batteries to cut my whole property, and I've got about a half an acre or whatever it is, or quarter of an acre, I should say.
Will that thing recharge from pedaling it?
It's not a Tesla.
It does not.
It does not.
Maybe if Tesla did a bike.
You never know. They're making pickup trucks.
Yeah, if you hit the brakes, it should recharge the battery in the cars,
Right.
right? The electric space is it's changing. I think we're gonna see a lot of change there. That's a whole different topic, I think. But going back to the fun thing, I see those bikes and it's like I'm like teleported back to my childhood. My eyes light up. I mean, it's the one thing that's got to justify the price tag on these damn things, just to be able to ride a freaking bike with that big of tires through the woods, and
You're
then you
still
put the
a
electric
child.
motor on it. Like, yeah, well, that's true. It's. I'm pretty excited about that part of this conversation, man. I mean, when you got those, so you have your 2 sons, right? Do they each have one of these bikes, or do they share one, or what does that look like? Nope, I think we lost him. I think his call dropped. Let's see if he'll call back in here, or I can try to call him back.
There you go.
I have his number. Stand by, folks. I got all excited, and then he hung up on me. Just kidding. Let's see here.
He couldn't handle your excitement.
Uh-huh. Here it is. So, let's see. I think I can do an outbound call. Yes, I can. Phone number. I won't say it out loud. Oops.
You killed his battery, didn't you?
Maybe that's what it was.
Battery died.
It says calling. I'd say that's maybe it's not a first, but definitely doesn't. This doesn't happen too often.
Just like last week.
Tell you, ma'am.
You've reached the voicemail of Jeff Wittkopp. Please leave a message.
Well, we never heard it ring, but
You don't hear the ring sound effect. It is just ringing. I'll just send him a text. We lost you.
technical difficulties, folks. Hang on.
Look, if you're a real podcaster, you have technical problems. I'm just saying. That's how it actually works. So I'll just respond to some comments here until Jeff calls back in. But it looks like Elijah commented, "Oh yeah, as a kid, that would be the bomb." You're damn right. And then Elijah had commented a minute ago before that so you've been thinking about getting a mountain bike. So I have a shitty old Trek mountain bike that I've considered taking in the woods. It doesn't have an electric motor, right? I feel like that.
How about a Schwinn?
Well,
Trek.
does it come with a Schlitz?
It might. What Schlitz holder?
Schlitz and a Schwinn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take a Schlitz and a Schwinn. I'm gonna go hunt. What rhymes with Trek? What kind of beer?
Beck.
Oh, there we go. I'll have a Beck and a Trek. Take a Trek. I just may have some hay down by the bay. Hey, what do you say?
Oh God.
That's what I'm going for here.
This is going south fast.
Let's just try one more time. I've only had 1.5 glasses of scotch. It can't be that bad.
And a bush latte.
Yeah, I did have a bush latte earlier. I forgot about that.
That's like drinking water, pretty much.
Pretty much. That's what that is. Let's try one more time. If we don't get Jeff back, Greg and I will just take over. Hopefully we get him back, though. I'm not sure what happened.
You've reached the voicemail of Jeff Wittkopp.
Yep.
Please leave a message.
Strange. I'm not sure what happened. So do you think his phone died?
His phone must have died if it's going straight to voicemail.
That could be. That could be what happened.
Did he message you back?
No, I haven't heard back. Well, we can talk about the bikes for a little bit, and if he calls back in, he very well may, and we can just bring him right back on. You know, I was just saying they sound like a ton of fun.
Well, they sound handy for, especially if a person's handicapped. I mean, obviously, we're not going to be able to use them public land to access a whole lot, but for sure, private land where anything goes.
But could you use them on public land? Because is it technically classified as a motor vehicle or not?
I can tell you that some of the lands that I have, there's signs right up that say no motor vehicle traffic, no wheeled vehicle traffic. So you're not pedaling a bike back in any of these spots that I hunt.
What if it's just a regular bike?
You're not pedaling it.
It's just too hard?
No, they just don't want that back there.
Interesting.
I don't think they want, like, some of these areas, it could be due to, wildlife preservation.
I just can't see why they would
trying to limit it to foot traffic only. Mm-hmm.
Well, I see horses back there. Oh, we do have a caller, so we'll bring Kyle in. Kyle, you're a regular. What's up, buddy?
Hi, Kyle.
Hey, man, what's going on?
We lost our
Hey,
guest.
Greg, how's it going?
I'm not sure what's happening there.
I know, I heard.
Technical difficulties as usual.
I don't know that it's a technical difficulty. I think his phone died. I mean, you might call that, but it's not on our end.
Well,
for a change.
Well, it's still technology, so wouldn't it be technical difficulty?
Still technical difficulty.
That's valid. Yep.
It's just not our fault this time.
Yeah, we're not sure what happened.
So I got a question.
Good.
I know he was talking about scent control and stuff like that.
Hot topic. It's always
and
a hot
obviously
topic.
and I know everybody's talking about like the scent crusher bags, and I know there's other companies and everything that have now the ozone bags and the closets and everything like that. I have a legit ozone machine that'll clear out like a room and stuff like that. Like, I mean, all pets, animals.
Doesn't that smell drive you nuts?
It belongs on the show Dexter, I think.
It's weird smell, but I mean, it'll totally kill all the air out, and like, I mean, you'll see all the bugs on the ground because it definitely takes all the O2 out of the room and everything like that. My question is, I mean, would that be a valid thing to use for like my hunting gear if I put it up in like a closet and close it off, or is that different than like the scent crusher bags? Because I know they have like the Ozone Go and stuff like that you can put in a truck.
Sure.
But
funny thing you asked that question.
Is it the same?
Because I come from the HVAC industry, so I'd go into houses a lot, and some of these people would have an ozone maker cooking in the basement, and you could smell it, that tinny smell that it makes. And I know of guys that were building their own closets and putting stuff in there. You could smell it, and I remember talking to one guy. I knew he was big into hunting, and said, "You have an ozone machine in there?" "Yeah, it kills all the stuff off my clothes." Well, I don't know what else was in those clothes, but some of his clothes were having some sort of reaction. I don't know what the fabric was, or if it was the rubber and some of the linings, like around the cuffs or something.
I had T&K on a couple weeks ago, and he said that if you use the ozone products, don't with his stuff because it would degrade the materials that he was using. So you got to be careful with certain things. Like this ozone product is used out in Eastern countries. That's what they use to sanitize medical equipment. Yeah. And then they just decided to brand it to hunting. So, like, it's pretty powerful stuff.
Ozone and UV were always big things for sanitizing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And so we do have, Jeff, you're back, right?
Yes. Yeah, I heard the ozone question. Great question. Natural rubbers do not like ozone. So you got to be really careful.
Oh, shit.
Suspenders. I know guys have roached their suspenders.
Yep.
And a big part of it is they're overcooking it. You don't need a ton of ozone to be effective.
Yeah.
That's like good. I always put it up to a half hour. I'm like, let's crank it up, and so I should probably calm down.
Well, I think,
Yeah, more is not better.
no, and I think with the stuff that's specifically made for hunting, it's putting it out in the right amount of dose.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like I was telling
Yes.
you, the folks they'd have a home ozone maker that they put in the basement to kill the cat litter smell or something. They'd put one of those in, they home make a closet, and all of a sudden you look at their hunting clothes and all the rubber's falling apart on it. So it's just too much of a dose. So they've done their homework on how much of a dose they need for ozone to make it work properly, to kill just the right amount of scent but not affect the rest of the synthetic fabrics or natural fabrics that reacts to it.
Exactly. I have a Oz 500 unit that's in a gear bag, and it gets 5 minutes. So before I get in the shower, I turn it on, and by the time I'm out of the shower and dried off, that ozone has done its job and it's dissipated back to oxygen. So, and that's all it takes for me using that product.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Kyle, good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it, guys. Yeah, because like I said, I know the one we have, it's a commercial grade unit, and I know like I said, it'll clear out a room definitely. So I was just wondering if I put it in a closet and kind of sealed everything. But yeah, good thing I know, because I mean, you can put it up to like a 2-hour cycle, or you can even put it on a hold where it'll go the whole time. So yeah, I was just kind of wondering, and I figured that it was. There's different grades and everything to it, and I think it's 6,000 some number on it. I'd have to look at it again, but I was just wondering if that's one thing I could use, or if it's the ozone go stuff like that, if that's a total lot less dose and stuff like that makes it acceptable to use.
Definitely a smaller dose, and I'm sure a Google search would probably get you, as they always say, Google it.
Yeah. But don't Google medical problems.
Don't Google medical problems.
Everything is death.
Because you're guaranteed to die.
And don't there's a few other things you probably shouldn't Google. Just ask my wife.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I appreciate it, guys. I'll listen on.
Thanks, Kyle.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks for calling in.
All right. Yep. Bye.
Adios. Yeah, so we're not sure. Jeff, we lost you for a second. I tried to call you back a couple times, but I'm glad you made it back in. I've been the king of technical problems over here, so we got a lot of technology in this room. So thanks for making your way back on.
He was going to start an open mic night over here if you didn't come back, so thank you.
Right. So yeah, so if anybody does have questions on bikes, I can definitely help you answer. But if you guys want to try one out, just let me know. We'll get together and we'll get you on one.
Yeah, and you're in Oconomowoc.
They
so
are.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Well,
in fact, Quiet Cat came to Deer Fest
You're
this
right.
past fall.
We were there.
And,
were you there?
They had a booth. Yeah, I was running the demo booth with my family out back, and we had 5 bikes that they brought, and we had over 150 people try them out, and they could ride as long as they wanted back there in the fairgrounds. There was not one person that came back unhappy. We had a blast.
Well, they also probably had a huge smile on their face, too. Maybe a couple bugs in their teeth.
Yeah, right.
Well, so it's electronic. The pedaling, it happens. It just kind of, is it like an assist?
You can pedal it as a bike. I suppose you could pedal it as a bike and then or use it as an assist if the electric motor can't keep up, if it's dying low on battery, hey?
Correct. You can use strictly pedal, you can use strictly battery, or you can do a combination of both. I just use batteries because we're not going a huge distance. But you can, if you need a little boost to get up a hill, you can pedal at the same time. What you'll find is, you'll see some out there for half the price. Well, it's all about the components and it's about the motor. And there's basically 2 different types. There's the hub drive, where basically it's just a motor on the back wheel that the battery activates that motor, and that's what propels the bike. And then there's called mid-drive, and that is in the middle of the bike, and that's actually turning the gear that your pedal's attached to. So you can use a mid-drive to get a lot more torque, and that's what's recommended for heavier guys or to get up inclines a lot easier, to go farther and handle their body weight. So we have 2 mid-drives and 1 hub drive. If you've got flat land and you don't have a lot of hills to worry about, a hub drive will be just fine. But if you got some hills and ravines, or if you got a little more weight to carry, you're going to want the mid drive, because you can actually use your gears to change the torque. So you have a combination of the motor plus your gears to get you where you need to go. And there is a big difference. There's a big difference in cost, but there's also a big difference in performance.
So that's been the biggest game changer for you on the private land that you're hunting, is the ability to access that with the e-bike. Why is it called e-bike? Electronic bike?
Electronic bike, yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, e-bike for short. It has, and it came from, when we hunt, we always get in like 40 minutes before legal shooting. So we're in our stands, quite frankly, before anybody else in the area. And we would hear everybody come in on their ATVs. This neighbor's getting to his stand, this neighbor's coming to his, here comes neighbor Mike. And the amount of deer that these guys push before they even knew what was going on was amazing. And had we not been there to witness that, being in the woods first and hear that firsthand, I never would have thought how many deer get pushed by an ATV. I always thought, they get used to the commotion, they're used to that sound. Maybe in an agricultural setting, but where we're at, they hear that sound, it's danger, and we're getting the hell out of there. So we stopped using our ATVs on the farm property ever since we got the bikes. So we just slip in there, and there's no motor sound. You can hide them in the grass. You don't have a doe sitting there blowing at your machine, stomping at it, because she sees it sitting there. That's all gone, and that was a pleasant surprise, to be honest. So it's like you said, these aren't things that we had growing up, and all of a sudden my kids are learning to hunt with all this technology. It's pretty neat.
That's something, huh?
So
are you using any sort of other? So it's interesting. We're actually this is a good conversation. We're talking about youth a little bit. We're talking about what they're coming to the table with in terms of hunting and the technology of the e-bike. The ability for them to film and go live. Are you using any, mobile applications to manage your property too, like a hunt stand or an Onyx or other applications, as far as tracking who's where or what stands are, on the property? You obviously have contextual knowledge of 20 years, so it, but are they using any of those types of things too?
We do use Hunt Stand, in that basically we have all of our stands marked on there, but on 40 acres there's not a whole lot of secrets. We know that Mom's right over this knoll, and Grandpa's over here in this pine grove, but we do use it to track the wind. We can't always beat the wind, but we try to manage it the best we can. And that's just kind of a nice piece to be able to look in the cabin and say, okay, well, this is kind of where it's going to blow. We should probably try to set this stand if possible and leave that one alone. As far as managing, we touched briefly on food plots. We don't do a whole lot of that, just don't have the opportunity for it on that particular piece. But one of the other big things we've changed is the amount of foot traffic we put on that property, and it's year-round. Kids want to go ATV, so in the summer months, they're back there messing around, and we're okay with that. But come August, all traffic stops. We're not back there going for joyrides on the bikes. The kids aren't back to ripping around on ATVs anymore. We let everything just kind of settle in, settle down for the season. We do maintain trails. My son likes to cut grass, so he's back there with the John Deere once a month up until August, keeping trails mowed. And that's been a nice change for us, because you're not, walking through knee-high briars or some of that scrub brush, making noise, leaving scent. You can kind of just tiptoe in there. And, with that, along with the use of the bikes, what we're finding is we're not up the tree yet, and the deer are coming in. And I think, 9 times out of 10, you'll get stuck going up the tree, and a deer will walk by. So they're definitely not feeling that pressure like they probably have in the past. So that's been kind of interesting.
That is interesting
to figure out. Yeah, it's frustrating because you're halfway up the tree and your bow's on the ground, and here's a deer, But
I think we've all been
sit
there.
still to it.
You're kind of in shock. You're like, wait, what? I'm not ready for you.
Right.
You shouldn't be here yet. I'm still making noise. What the heck is going on? I mean, raise your hand in the comments. Give us some likes if that's happened to you. I know that's happened to me. How about you, bud?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Or doing other things. Okayest hunter things.
Exactly.
Yeah, dropping shit and it clinks like Plinko every freaking, climbing stick on the way down. Tink, 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 tink. I'm like, oh my God.
Or when you drop your backpack out of the pine tree and it tumbles down the tree like Chris Farley on Black Sheep when he's going down the hill.
I had a shot at, I could have got a $2 for $1. And the Nicolay National Forest, it was one of my first ever bow hunting experiences. I get up in the tree stand and I hear like, I'm like, oh, great, another hunter. No, it was $2. And it was fall and there's heavy leaves, so they're tranching through. And I'm like, oh man. And this is my first ever opportunity at a deer with a bow. Right? It was my Dart and Viper dual cam. I was wearing my camo onesie that looks like the pattern that's cool now that everyone loves. It's retro. That shit was legit when I was wearing it. It was a hand-me-down from my dad, the tree bark camo. And yeah, and now everyone thinks it's cool. I was like embarrassed to wear it back then because it wasn't cool
Jim
then.
Crumley's tree bark.
You got it.
I have a whole suit of it.
Yeah, I just sold some at the rummage sale you stopped at.
Yeah, man. I was looking at it. I was like, shit. And so I'm like, all right, this is it. And I grabbed my bow. My bow was upside down. So I had to rotate it, slowly, fluidly, and then I finally get it to the right spot, and I go to draw back. I don't even remember what I dropped. I dropped something, but I had these little L hooks that lassoed on around the tree in a rope form. They didn't screw in.
Gear holder.
Yeah. And so that's what I had. Still these little steps, so tink, 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 all the way down. And these bucks, they stopped to take a piss, and if I had been ready, I honestly could have penetrated both of them in one shot. The way they stopped. And by the time I was ready to actually draw back, they were too far, and I missed my opportunity. I was like, how are these animals? I was not ready for them. It was the classic case. I'd be a different hunter if I would have got those $2.
Earlier, that curiosity kicks in, and a lot of times they just gotta see what's going on.
Yeah. In this case, I just was so shocked. I'm like, I can't believe it. I thought it was just another hunter. I was like, yeah, this hunt's ruined. Nope, it was $2. Couldn't believe it. So, yeah, we've all been there. So, okay, let's pivot. And it's unfortunate, we dropped you off for a little bit, but I asked you in the beginning of the show before we hit record if you could think about your most memorable hunt. What do you got for us? We're excited to hear it.
Sure. Well, there's a lot to choose from, and I think the one I got to go with is 2008. I was able to shoot up until then my biggest buck archery season. And what made that special was my dad was up that weekend with me in the woods, and we were able to share that experience together. Growing up, he's an electrical contractor, works all week, worked a lot of weekends. We didn't have a ton of father and son time. It wasn't like he wasn't around, but it just, like it is with any dad you love, you can never get enough time. And it wasn't until I started hunting that I got all this bonus time with him, and that started at age 12. And I tried to soak up every minute I can of that throughout the years. So it just so happened he was up that weekend with us, and we pulled a chip on one of our cameras. We hunted that Saturday morning, didn't see a whole lot. It was November 15th. I went back to the house, got a quick lunch, threw the card in, and saw this beautiful 12-pointer on camera. Nobody had seen him before. He hadn't showed up on any picture earlier in the season. I said, God, it'd be cool to see him, just to see him. And went back out that evening, and about 4 o'clock, all of a sudden, here he come. And he came in within 10 yards and gave me a shot. Made a quick kill. Followed the short trail to him and saw him there, and then I called my dad, and he didn't even wait till closing. He came down to see it. And he said, "You think I'll make Pope and Young?" Because none of us had ever shot one Pope and Young caliber buck up until that point. And I said, "Yeah, I think you will." And the look on his face when he walked up on it, and he ended up scoring 157.
Wow.
And just having him there to just share in that moment and be part of the bringing them to get registered when it used to be fun to register deer.
Yeah.
And show them off, and take them to the processor. Just having that chance to be with my dad and not having miss out on that probably was my favorite hunt in particular. So.
Yeah, Dad's a pretty important person in life, isn't he? Especially if he's the guy that taught you how to hunt. I mean, in every deer I shoot, that's the first person I call is Dad, and Dad usually gets pretty excited.
Right. Yeah, you see that on social media. People ask who's the first person you call. Well, for me, it's always been Dad, without a doubt.
For sure.
Same. Even pre-shot, I'll call my dad.
Dad, and then my wife. And my wife gets pretty excited to go track a deer. She's not real crazy about the killing part, but the tracking and dragging and trying to find it, she thinks that's pretty cool. So. Yeah,
absolutely. And close seconds and thirds are with my kids, being part of their first deer.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that they'll hopefully rate me as number one someday when they're asked the same question. But gosh, you just can't get enough of those moments in life.
No, it's
that's
short.
For sure. Absolutely. So.
That's cool.
So yeah,
Not surprised to hear that. That's good.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had a lot of success over the years. Do you hunt anything else aside from deer? You a turkey hunter?
We hunt. Yeah, we do hunt turkeys. That is kind of become a big deal for us. That started on private or public land and moved to the same private as of late. But that was another opportunity to get in the woods with Dad and my brother.
Cool.
But what we like about that is it's not the pressure, the self-pressure, I call it, of having to be in the stand during the rut. You can't miss any minute. You hunt for a while, the birds get quieter, and let's go to Perkins and grab breakfast. So you get a lot more time with the guys and with the family.
Yeah, bird hunting's a bit more social.
Absolutely.
I love to duck hunt too. I've done my share of it over the years, but as of late I don't do as much. But it was always fun to get done off the lake or off the river or whatever and come in and grab breakfast and shoot the bull and make fun of each other and about missing and whatnot, and then carry on with life. It's always fun.
Right.
The social aspect of it.
Yeah, so whitetail will be number one, both rifle and archery.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my boys shoot compound bows. That's just the direction we've chosen, and that's what we've stuck with. So we do compound bow in the fall along with rifle season, and then when deer season's over with, it's predator season. We chase coyotes.
Cool.
Just fun.
Well, yeah, as a private landowner, that's a pretty fun thing because you want to keep those fuckers off your land.
Yes, you do. Yeah. And there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And we just love it. We've got Tacticams, so we'll put those on and film shooting song dogs. And that's kind of what gets us through the winter, along with ice fishing. And then come spring, it's turkeys, and then it's prep work for deer season. So
sure.
it's a year-round business for us, if you will.
Cool.
Well, it's a year-round.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's funny. It's called Where to Hunt podcast, and I don't think we ever really talk about where we're actually hunting. I think that name came from the app, which helps you understand where other folks are in the woods. But I ice fish. That's probably my second favorite thing. Actually, is ice fishing. I actually like ice fishing more than summer fishing. But I haven't gone predator hunting. It's something on my list. I also haven't gone turkey hunting, but it's on my list. So I look to Greg right now because I'm looking for him to take me to do some of these
Anytime.
things. I have a buddy that predator hunts. I've done some episodes on coyote hunting. I had a guy on that. I think he's killed like several hundred coyotes in several states, and that's a really fun episode. Hearing that guy, he's a maniac. Actually, I think I learned something from him about deer hunting. He had said he has a crow call with him, and he'll call crows in when he needs sound cover. And so he'll literally call crows in, and then the crows will caw, and now he can make some movements and close the gap on some animals. I called him the sorcerer.
That's a cool tip.
That's it, right? Like, I was like, holy shit, man, you're something else. I never would have thought of that.
Yes,
Sadly,
and the crows do call in fairly easy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm going to have to try that one.
Yeah, it's something different.
We've also done some black bear hunting. I pulled a tag back in 2013. Did harvest one. Little guy, but I wasn't going to go home empty-handed. But that was a interesting hunt. So we'll pull more tags in the future and try that. But like I said, it's a lifestyle. We had met with one of our financial advisors, and he's going over our budget. He says, I've never seen anybody had a taxidermy budget. I said, well, now you have.
Do you have a budget? That's funny. Actually, I always wonder if I get a big buck, I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to have to pay for this.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
I'm not going to do this. I got to tell the wife,
right.
Hey, I'm just going to pay for this, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not fair. You get to do what you want. I'm like, yeah, that's true.
I'd actually send monthly payments to my taxidermist. So when you pick it up, it's paid for. It doesn't feel so bad.
That's a good idea. There's another good tip.
Yeah.
I'd
send them $50 or $100 every month, and by the time the year's up, it's paid for, and you're happy as a clam. You get to take it home and hang it up.
That's a good idea. That's really putting the kind of the rubber to the road. That means I ought to get something. I might have a really strong debit. For me, I'd have like a 10-year dedebit. I'd probably have my tax numbers would be sitting real pretty right now. You just spent all that several thousands of dollars that I've never had to cash in on. I got that little 7-pointer over there, like that's what I'm working with.
Right.
We'll get there. It just takes time. Mm-hmm. Time and dedication.
Time, effort, dedication.
Yep.
Yeah, the quote that my buddy actually has been living by this whole 2019, it was his 2019 goal, he told me. He said, and he got a tattoo of it. It's, what is it? Discipline over disappointment. And so he got the greater sign or whatever it is. And he said, I wake up every day and would I want to be disappointed, or am I going to deploy some discipline? And he's like, I apply it to everything. Right. And he's changed his life in a year just by living off of that saying.
Absolutely.
Inspirational.
Well, real quick, one thing that I've learned, we talk about how long I've been hunting, over 30 years, is there was a point where I was so focused on chasing inches on a deer that it started to take the fun out of the whole event. It became more of a job. It was stressful. There was frustrations. And it was probably right around just before I had shot my big one, where I just kind of just start relaxing and just say, you know what, I'm going to go out and do the best I can. If it's going to happen, it'll happen. And I'm not going to get discouraged. I'm not going to get frustrated. I'm not going to get angry, because it wasn't fun anymore. And just about the time that I just took a chill pill and just started watching, got back to the basics, watching squirrels, watching the does and the fawns. And just paying attention to nature more and really observing what I get to experience, which so many people don't get to do, that success just started to come by itself. And that was probably a defining moment in my hunting career, if you will, that I got out of the mainstream. You got to shoot a 150-inch deer every year, or you're not worth anything, to just going out and having fun. If it happens, great. If not, so be it. We get to enjoy this. So many people don't even have a chance or not have an opportunity. Let's not get selfish about it. And that's been a huge mental change for me and how I approach it. And that's what I'm making sure that my kids kind of follow that same path. Don't get caught up in the big bucks.
That's great.
It's a good mantra. It's almost like when you stop searching for that girl, right? You meet your wife. That's
right. Exactly.
Right. I don't know. That's all.
Every time you open up Facebook, this guy's got this huge deer and this guy's got this huge deer. Don't worry about that. Not all tracts of land are the same. Not all opportunities are the same. Go out and have fun.
No, every situation's different. You nailed it right on the head. Yep.
Jeff, that's a good message to end on. Just so people are clear, I'd love to make sure people can find Lowe Creek Outdoors. Can you help us make sure that happens? Where can folks find you?
Absolutely. Lowe Creek Outdoors. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We also have a website, which is lowecreek.com.
It's LOWE, right?
Yeah, LOWE, creek.com. We post pictures of our successes, our kids having a good time, You'll see some of the products that we use. We're not pitching it. We don't get financial gain from it. We're just sharing experiences on products we use so that you guys know what works and what doesn't. And we have a lot of fun doing it. So
good.
It's been a good run so far. I appreciate you guys having us on, and we'll get you out there chasing turkeys and some coyotes here.
Yes.
This winter.
And we're close, so like proximity is a big deal for me with a 2-year-old and a 2-week-old. So if you're close by, that means it's actually going to happen for me.
Right.
One comment I want to say: Lowe Creek Outdoors. Why not Lowe Creek? Do we call it Creek or Creek here in Wisconsin?
Johnson Creek.
Well, there's Johnson's Creek.
Right?
There's Johnson's Creek, which is not far from us, and
Yep.
if you live there, they say they're from Crick.
Yep.
Oh,
But,
do.
Lowe
that's what I'm
Creek,
talking about.
right? Lowe Creek is near where we hunt, and that's where the name came from.
It's cool.
So,
Okay.
It's cool.
yeah.
I hunt. I've hunted several years Lowe Lake, which is Monchez Park over by Holy Hill area, and it's just beautiful. You go there and you
sure.
feel like you're up north. It's just something else. But that's good to know, man. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule day in the woods potentially to be on the show. Make sure you revisit the comments. There might be some folks asking you specific questions in here, so I'd love you to jump in. And
Okay.
we'll let you know when it's posted tonight. It'll be live in podcast land. So thanks so much. And I'd also like to try one of those bikes. I think just for
Absolutely.
fun.
Without a doubt, we'll make that happen.
And Greg will definitely look like the circus bear. You got the body for it.
So do I, Greg. Don't worry
All
about
right.
it.
Team Ramrod, here we
Awesome,
go.
guys.
Team Ramrod. Thanks so much. Have a great night. And
You guys
talk
take
with
care.
soon.
You too. Great talking to you.
All right,
Thank
talk
you.
to you soon. Take care.
Bye, Jeff.
Yep.